it's gonna be. If we fight this, is that gonna come true? I don't.
If we fight this, it is most definitely going to be a painful experience. That is something that goes without saying. But something that we need to decide for. Those who seek to change the world for their own end, to the detriment of others.
I don't know if Jade was. I don't know if Jade was talking about my path as a vampire, or if she was talking about something bigger than that. But
it was Jade. It's very likely she was talking about something bigger. One thing that I could always give that woman is that she always had her eye on the biggest of pictures. She saw. I'm guessing it was the unique relationship that she had with whatever it was that gave her the ability to shoot, giant, fleshy, geary blasts of energy at people.
Can you say that one more time?
Giant, geary, fleshy blasts of energy.
Geary what blast of energy?
Fleshy.
Oh, okay.
Wait.
It's like maybe the relationship that she had with whatever being allowed her to do that, allowed her to see the big picture, a bigger picture than,
Flesh tree? Fleshy gear things?
I thought that at first. I did think that at first, but no gears.
Is that integral?
I mean, it was kind of her whole shtick. She wouldn't stop talking about it, so, I imagine it is probably pretty integral. Well, yes, he was gears and paper and scrap and clockwork and whatnot. But I think of it as she was always able to see a bigger picture that for some reason we just couldn't, and maybe that's why she was as eccentric as she was.
Well, I mean, we know Jay didn't see things the way everybody else saw them. But I don't know that he saw the bigger picture, but I think that human minds aren't really able to see if there's a grand plan, which I don't really think there is. Human minds probably aren't really able to see it. So all she would have been able to see was just a tiny slice. Like if you look at a picture of a cube drawn on a piece of paper, but then when you turn it sideways, it's not.
It's just a square.
Yeah. It's really just a line at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can pick up what you're putting down.
Norlai, were you going to say something? I thought I heard a couple little murfles.
No, I don't. I don't think I was going to say anything.
Okay.
Yeah, I see the picture. I see the picture. Just gonna jump to that so I can have a better look at it.
Well, there's definitely a big picture going on here.
Yes, there's something there is the. I do get that there is a much bigger picture here, a much bigger picture than I think any of us are ever really going to be able such time as we how do I put it? Until we reach the end of the path. we see all of the information laid out before us. I don't think it's a a picture that we'll fully be able to see. I think we can get glimpses of what it's meant to be thanks to Bright and her unique ability to.
Yeah. So about that, it hasn't really been working lately.
Really?
So I don't know.
Hasn't been working.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't really worked properly ever since we went in the Fey Mine, and then since we saw the tree, I haven't really seen anything at all.
Huh. That's odd, but okay. Well, I mean, besides that,
Yeah, because you were saying that there's things that you could see before, right?
What do you mean?
Well, like you've mentioned it before. You've talked about it, right? You've said that you've seen some things before.
Not since the tree. I mean, I used to, sure, but not since the tree.
Nothing like this, though.
You mean nothing?
That long ago.
Like big picture like this.
Oh, no. I mean, I would just see things happen, and then they'd happen. But it wasn't something that, like, I mean, I never saw the mind of the gods or anything like that. No, it was just like I'd see something happen, and then it would happen, like a few minutes or a few hours later. That's all.
Well, well, I mean, that aside, it would seem to me that, we did have someone who, in the end, could see the picture on the grand the picture on the grand scale, but was just unable to put forward these thoughts in a articulate manner, because seeing everything all at once for what it truly is, I mean,
that's a lot. I'm sure
it is a lot. It is a lot. It's enough to break people, and maybe that's what ended up happening to Jade.
I don't know.
Jade saw.
But I can't. I can't.
I guess my question is, what is our plan? What do we want to do? What are
Our plan is this. We as much as I don't like using people, we need to use Sephenix in everything that he knows to our advantage to find out more information. We need more information. We need this picture, and we need to try and confirm some of these theories that we have posed here tonight. And after that, maybe, if we can do that, maybe we might have a weapon to use against the Fae, against the vampires, against the Fomorians. We may have a weapon that will stop innocent people from being transformed by the Fae and whatnot.
And you don't think that this can be rectified with some kind of persuasive manner? You don't think that this is gonna stop by making alliances between all of the races?
That would be nice.
It would be nice, but if that was possible, it would have already happened.
Not really.
Has anyone tried? I mean,
remember that the Fae and the vampire had a truce. They had.
That's
a truce.
true.
Well, we don't know that that's broken, though.
That is also
They
true.
said that it was.
Well,
They did say that it was. That the vampires had broken the truce with the Fae. That was said back when we found Orlan's in the mine.
This is a big wide world. We don't think that all of these people could fit.
They didn't say they had broken the truce. They were talking. I mean, that's what we used to bluff them, was to threaten.
Yeah,
you brought that to them.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, no, we brought that to them. But I was misremembering. You think
I threatened them that way.
It's
that
like
was when I was feeling particularly hungry, I think.
It's like they do have a truce, yes, but the thing is, it's not that they can't physically fit in this world. It's that their ambitions make them too large to fit in this world. Their agendas.
Maybe we can just get them to change their.
Ambition. That is a good word. And do you remember from your revelation? I guess we're still like, you all are burning the midnight oil here. You're gonna be very tired from the ritual. Do you remember more specifically what the word was that you came to in your conclusion through your study in your books, Selene? It was ambition, yeah, but specifically, more specifically.
More specifically, it was less ambition and more like goals and plans. I should remember this from last session. The word that I had come to was I think it was desire.
We're beating around the bush.
Yeah.
Something more direct. If anyone in the peanut gallery remembers, then you could shout it out.
Yeah, no, if someone could help me, it's been a very busy week and I've kind of forgotten some of the minutiae. I don't even know. It's a pretty big minutia.
Same.
And what we're supposed to be thinking about right now, so I don't know. What are we thinking about?
Where?
Read.
Give me a second, actually.
We're on the right track, though, I think.
You all have been on a very, very, like, you're on the direct route track.
Yeah.
Not quite a bullet train, but it's
Gluttony.
What's that?
Gluttony.
No.
I'm just starting to
oh,
discount
right,
out
from
sins.
the chat. No, yeah,
I'm
that's
just throwing out the sins.
I got the.
Yeah, they are. So exist. It wasn't ambition. It was more direct than ambition. It
Correct.
was more direct than ambition.
Ambition is an expression of this. Like, get to the root. Get to the core.
Yeah.
Get to the core of ambition.
Like a need.
Yeah. It's like a need, a want, a desire, but also
Let me remind you, ambition implies bigger than self.
self. It implies pride. It can imply pride, but it can also imply greed.
Yeah, I think the word is kind of escaping us, but ambition.
Yeah. Yeah, no, an ambition does ambition does kind of feed into.
When faced with a challenge, there are several ways you can overcome it. You can just endure it with a great fortitude, or you can try and flex out of it and test your reflexes. But there's something else. If it's not fortitude and it's not reflexes,
It's will.
the exertion of one's will.
Will.
The power of one's will. And as you were putting together in your notes before, Bright used a power word point in order to make a big presentation about it.
Power word point. Or maybe it was power word PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Everything...
That's the joke. You explained the joke. Now it's ruined.
Everything that has happened in your surmising here has been the exertion of one's will over another, and the more dominant force has won. This is the direct application of will in this game.
Yeah, it's the one-upsmanship, the game of one-upsmanship. Of just creating this stack of, I've done this, but well now I've done this, and then if you do that, well then I'll do this to one-up you.
Then that just makes it all the more important that we gain allies.
Yes, but the last thing that anyone in a game of one-upsmanship wants is to be wrong. And I find that people and other beings will be reticent to ally themselves because it makes them more likely to be wrong. It means they're more likely to be called out that the actions that they have performed in this game of one-upsmanship.
But I've always said there's strength in numbers.
What is the current title holder? Well, that would be humanity. But the Fae and vampires are attempting to come back. And because they're attempting to come back, the Fomorians are attempting to come back.
And the giants. And
the giants.
And apparently one of our dragon friends.
Yes, and apparently one of our dragon friends. And then I'm sure in response, the Fae and vampires will try and do something else, and then humanity will try and do something else, and so on and so forth, and never-ending stack until finally someone hits the ceiling and everything breaks.
Given everything that's happening here, all of these external forces, you could look out into an audience and see 10,000 puppets, but who is truly the one-upsman among the 10,000? You may see that that puppets rule, right? You have these creatures that are they take a particular shape, but does that mean anything if the predominant species or the predominant form or whatever isn't the one who's in control? Does that mean anything? Humanity is certainly prevalent. Look all around. Mesotopia is rife with elves and half-orcs and dragonborn, and of all stripes and colors. I mean, look at Selter.
Humanoids.
Yeah. And is there something more influential that is using the predominant species?
Well, the Fae and the vampires are. I mean, for the vampires, transforming people is how they breed. And for the Fae, well, they're using the crystals to follow.
Using the crystals to procreate. That's essentially what they're doing.
Well, not necessarily procreate, but to imitate the vampire's procreation by transforming the predominant species into something more like them, rather than... Yes, I didn't want to... I didn't want to bring that one up, but I had remembered it. But no, the vampires, like, they bite people, those people die, they come back as vampires. That's how they propagate themselves. Mm-hmm. The Fae don't do that, but the Fae have started doing that through means of the crystals.
We don't know that they didn't start doing that. We don't know that they didn't start off doing that.
Well, see, there are recorded cases of more classical Fey possession, somewhat akin to demonic or angelic possession. It is something some Fae are capable of doing. They are more known. They're charming, and the use of natural Fey magics to sway a person's mind and soul as an exertion of their will. But now they are taking over a person's body as an exertion of their will, rather than very similar to how the vampires do, except the vampires are just more less forceful, I suppose, if that could be said.
Mordecai, was Selene bringing up the topic of possession? You know, you certainly ran into a force that was able to possess others, and you saw that back with Bambardalis and his sons, where these fiends were able to infiltrate a person and change them and control them.
Yeah. The fiend. Bambardalis' fiendish wife.
Yes. And if you recall as well, Bambardalis, because he was in direct service to some... I mean, it's nothing you've ever even heard of. I mean, it's not like there's tales of this person. I'm sure you would have heard of some, fiendish queen of the damned or whatever. And you never have. I mean, the concept of, of devils or fiends. Look, you're a tiefling. At one point in time, you were presumably human until something happened. Such as
in ancient history.
In ancient history, such as the common lore goes. And so something happened to possess people and to change or influence them, to make them into other things. And if we look at the Shadowhar Empire, is made of humans and tieflings. Almost exclusively. And then, after a while, we had the rise of the Fae, and the Fae were dominant. And at the same time, the humans, there were humans that were human, but something happened, right? The Shadowhar have apparently been delving in this old, ancient history style necromancy.
Yeah. Or traditional old school Ouijasian style necromancy.
And Bambardalis was aware that there are these ancient rivals that exist. He apparently was a part of this this knowledge, this cult or cadre or whatever. And if we look at it, what are we looking at here? We have these ancient rivals, these dominant forces. And what is the imposition of the timeline? Such that you have been able to put together.
Well, he spoke of ancient rivals, but that wasn't particularly like... I mean, it may have been the Fomorians and the Fae. Given that the Fomorians did say that the Fae were an experiment. It would make sense if it would make sense that they were rivals if the experiment that ran off the rails.
An experiment needs a catalyst.
It does.
If we look at chicken and the egg, or in this case, I guess we could even muddy the waters with a Mordecluck example here.
Yes.
Mordecluck exists not necessarily because of an egg. I mean, that was crucial in the creation of the chicken. What was the progenitor of Mordecluck? Or who?
Wild magic.
Wild magic
Wild
certainly
magic.
caused it.
Yeah.
Mordecai was there before the magic. She just got stuck to Mordecai's.
What or who is responsible for the creation of Mordecluck?
That would be Mordecai.
Mordecai, yes.
More accurately,
Well-
a dead thing.
Well, I suppose, yeah. The transformation of the chicken into Mordecluck was caused by wild magic, catalyzed by Mordecai's being a vampire
Casting a spell.
and casting a spell using magic.
Just hearing about wild magic.
If you can create a mutant species of chicken through magic and someone being this progenitor, this if Mordecluck goes on to reproduce, we have this whole new race of chickens. We have this arch chicken, or this or this
Arch chicken.
we have this entity that is the one that's responsible.
Yes.
You should get a rooster symbol.
That means that there's an initial fae, there's an initial vampire, there's an initial fiend, potentially.
And you know that Bambardalus had spoken that he served a particular fiend.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he served the initial fiend.
One that is very grumpy that he left, but one that seems to be very powerful and influential, such that it can parasitize people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And one that also strikes bargains in exchange for power. Bambardalus also has a very distinct dislike of what?
Okay.
Bing.
Is it very
Because he
Fae
was
and-
set against the Fae by his wife.
Fae wife?
And that was a bitter point in his existence. That's why he actually came to get this power. And yet, he knew that something else existed, but it always seemed to just, like, he's like, well, there's a third. But I was never concerned with that. It was always between... I was sent out as an agent by my
Between
wife
fae.
to combat the Fae. To counter, to perform espionage, to do whatever he did. But that was the bitter rival.
Yeah.
And then there's something in the periphery that exists, but wasn't necessarily a concern.
Yeah.
Out of character, I have an idea of what that is, but in character, I don't.
How does this compare to the history you are recreating here in this penthouse suite? Inside the tumbled wench in Green Shield. What could this mean? Where could this lead?
It could very much lead to the thought that, the fiends, the things that, the woman that Bambardalus served was the first of her kind, and had something to do with the Fae, and that maybe that the fiends and maybe the vampires is a creation of those things. And that they were rivals because they have a truce. And for there to be a truce, there must be some kind of conflict that needs to be resolved.
Why is the
So
Shadowheart
it's-
Empire invading Mesotopia right now?
Well,
basically, because politically, it's because of economic and political power, but suspicion is that it potentially is a place of necromantic magic if they're interested in that.
Well, they're invading Mesotopia as a whole, but my that is exactly the point that I was going to make. It could be that the Shadowheart Empire is made up of humans and tieflings. Now, what are tieflings?
One of you make a history at advantage.
Mine's there.
I can do it if
I'll go for it if you want.
yeah. If you get a higher than a +3.
Oh no, I don't have a +3.
Mordecai clearly didn't study the books like Noralai the scrappy urchin did.
Nope.
Alright, well, I'll give guidance to... If you want, I can do it, and I'll go for a guidance and then...
Go for it.
Go for them there. It's a 20, thankfully.
You're correct, that is not a 4.
Plus 1d4. Wow, really going with the 4s today. That's a 24, all up.
Historically, even in modern Mesotopian era, because the countries have squabbled, there's been kind of there's never really been a full like civil bloody war.
But there has been squabbles.
There's been squabbles and conflict, and the countries that make up Mesotopia get along, but I mean, kind of like Greek city-states in our history, you know, they existed side by side, but they were very interested in, you know, we are Sparta, we are Athens, we are these segmented places.
City-states, not Greece, yeah.
Yeah. In that point in our history, why was then the region, if not the identity of Greece, because it wasn't known as Greece, why was that so attractive to the Persians?
I do know this, I just need to think.
When is it strategically, historically best to strike?
When something is separated.
When something is not united. When something is divided. When there is no empire, but instead a reunion of states that are ruinous. Because then you don't have to go through the effort of dividing and conquering. They've already done it for you.
They've already divided, you just need to conquer.
You don't need to divide, you just have to conquer. But given now that brings up a point of, you know, Bambarda was serving the first fiend and the Shadowheart Empire being humans and tieflings. Tieflings being humans that have been tainted with with a fiendish bloodline somewhere along the line.
Siphonix mentioned, if you believe him, that there's a very good qualifier that Bright put out there, in her very optimistic way at that too. You know, like, we can't trust what he says, but that's kind of fun. You know, it's part of the challenge.
I don't remember putting it just that way.
It's not. No, it wasn't exactly like that. But he mentioned humans. He didn't mention anyone else. But that humans went on to do other things. Now, I don't know if any of you have been making a timeline in some sense or however, but take everything that you don't even need the broad. If this is the case, how does this timeline look? And if we are playing a game of the exertion of will, when was the strike? And by whom?
When was the strike?
I have no more brain. My brain is gone.
Wait, could you repeat what you just said, Matty?
in the history of what you've put together,
Hmm.
we're talking dragons and giants and fae and vampires and tieflings and all this other stuff. When was the strike?
It might
By
have been
a force that is capable of taking the latent population and using them very subtly.
It would have. It would have to be in the well, in the settling of Mesomasca and the utilization, but the utilization of necromantic magic, which is why it was banned in the first place by.
There were
You know,
modifications.
There were modifications made to the doctrine of Ouijas to stop that kind of stuff from happening, because it was very dangerous. It was very, manipulative. But you know, it would make sense that that Mesomasca is primarily made up of humans and tieflings, and that Shadowheart is also made up of humans and tieflings.
That is true.
It would seem to me that maybe this lady, this dark lady that Bambados once served. Maybe this.
It's not that you're not onto something. I'll
Matty,
make sure
may
to
I?
stress. Oh, what's that?
Selene, I want you to think about this very carefully and take into account all sides. Who benefits most from this cycle? There's only one in the entire thing, in this entire pantheon, who benefits most.
Well, I mean, it would be the one that
Who perpetuates the cycle.
Yeah, the one who perpetuates the cycle is the only one who benefits.
Not necessarily.
I suppose, yeah, no, you are correct. That isn't necessarily true.
I mean, out of character, I can just come out and say what I think, but...
Well, go ahead. Yeah. Well, what is strike?
I have no reason to... I would know this.
When was the strike? The strike was when the meteor fell from the sky. The land itself was struck by the meteor. In full fire plane.
Nature has had a big hand in trying to make sure that these things don't happen anymore, like the waterfall.
Yes, like the waterfall.
So whatever's controlling nature is the thing that's striking back at all of these things.
Yes, and so what benefits most from the one thing that benefits most from the cycle perpetuating? It's not the one who perpetuates the cycle. It's the one who oversees the cycle being perpetuated in the first place.
Was the waterfall natural?
It wasn't natural, but it was nature. I'm just gonna say Shoneruth.
Yeah.
Because out of character, I think that's the big bad, but that's just me.
Or at the very least,
controlling the nature's vengeance.
Yeah, Shoneruth would be able to see these things and be able to act upon these things, given the perpetuation of foresight that Shoneruth has.
I don't know why I would know that in character, but that's me out of character.
I mean, you've spoken to Jade, right?
Yeah.
Some, yeah.
So a little bit?
Yeah, no.
Okay. off and on, a little, part-time.
I mean, well, yeah, no, I can see what's being put down, because Jade was always able to see the bigger picture, and Shona, the character, if she was able to see the bigger picture and she had something to do with this with this Shona Ruth, then it would imply that Shona Ruth has something to do with what's going on. That
What?
whether it be
I
that
mean,
whether
that
it be a
makes sense.
benefit.
What was one of Jade's primary objectives that she declared? I mean, look, whether or not that's true or if it goes deeper, we can
Well,
you know,
it was
To
keep the
eradicate what
gears-
should not be.
to eradicate what should not be, to keep the gears turning
and
the way that they
specifically
should
what
be
should
turning.
not be.
Fae and vampires.
The Fae and the
Ah.
vampires.
Okay.
Specifically.
Specifically the Fae and the vampires. But I imagine that would
But nothing
probably
about dragons, though.
Well, see, that might just extend. It might be an extension of, or maybe their death was something that should not have been.
What came before? Thank you, Baboonsky, for the host. What came before Fae and vampires?
The
Humanity.
Fomorians.
Let's walk it back. Well, the Fomorians,
Well-
yes. Take one step back. How did the Fae and the vampires come to exist?
Well, they-
Humanity. Dragons.
Humanity.
Okay.
Humanity and dragons.
What existed before humanity, as you know it?
The dragons,
Dragons,
the
giants.
giants, and the
Ah.
Fomorians.
All right. Walking things back step by step. Look, now that we've gone back, now take it forward. We're watching this instant replay, and if any of you are into sports ball of some kind, watch how the timeline plays out. And you're correct. Jade never mentioned dragons, at least not as a
Not openly, at least.
not as a target. Why
No.
would that be? Is that because do dragons exist?
Well, yes, they do.
They
Well,
do?
they did.
Oh, they did.
They did. They are dead, but they because I've seen their skeletons, I've seen their corpses,
Correct,
I have
yes, you
studied
have.
them extensively.
You've seen vestiges of them. I mean, Selter is a very good example, right?
Well,
but,
I mean,
but
I did
dragons
also
don't
live...
exist. Humanoid dragons exist.
Yes, and dragons as dragons did exist at one point.
And Jade never
Because
mentioned
there is-
giants, right?
Mm-mm.
Yes.
So what happened to
Um,
the dragons and giants?
Well, they died off.
You make that sound
Cataclysm.
so passive and peaceful, like they just sort of,
Well,
A cataclysm came
a
from
cataclysm made them go extinct. They were destroyed in a cataclysmic event.
were they?
Well, I mean, their bones of both the
I mean,
giants.
if
Go
And
go
if
to
we're
the
to believe
concept.
Sophonics, there's still one there.
Go to the concept of the person with the greatest will is the winner. Who won against the giants and the dragons?
The Fomorians did.
Fomorians were giants.
Well, actually, yeah, no. Well, it was either humans
Mm-hmm.
back then, or it was the Fae and the vampires.
But the Fae and the vampires were the humans, correct?
They didn't
Well,
exist
yes.
yet.
They didn't exist yet.
Yeah, something happened that sort of spun off maybe Fae, tieflings, these incarnations of mortal bodies that are undead, specifically vampires.
Yeah, I think it would be the first, like the first of these of the things that we know now to be Fae and Fiend and vampire.
So
The
if we
humans that
see-
became them.
If we see Fae and Fiends, if we want to talk about these things, great
Yeah.
powers that
Yes.
had overcome dragons and giants,
Giants.
and because they were banished by the Fae, correct? That's what the Fomorians told you. That the
Yes.
Fae had to exist, but they were something new, something experimental. They weren't the old race that the giants
Race.
were.
No, they weren't.
And so they won. They're the dominant species. They're the powerful species. And yet, if these fiends and fae manifested by humans as a template. But what did humans do to themselves? If you remember what Stefanix was saying, there were gifts that were given to serve, but the magics were taken. We're talking in our world, Prometheus with the fire. And what happened to humanity?
Things
Look,
taken from the gods.
And by the way, Stefanix mentioned gods.
Yeah.
But
Things
to that point,
taken from the gods.
Take Mordecai, and what happens if you lop off his tail and his horns? Besides, he's going to be a very sad boy. I mean,
he looks very human.
He's blue, but yeah. Look at an elf. Look at a gnome. Look at Bright. Now, she's short of stature, but she has a head, 2 arms, and 2 legs, right? I mean, we presume.
It was that these gifts, these energies, either given from gods or taken from.
And now we have a dominant species that is fractured, that the presumably very powerful representations, even if they're clandestine, very powerful representations of these people are fighting. If there's something then that you want, what do you do in this situation?
You step up, you fight, and you take it.
And what's one word that you could use if you want to just insert yourself into a combative situation? You
attack.
Or
you attack.
Strike.
You
strike. So that they themselves sent themselves from the heavens, possibly? On the meteor? That was a vector for something?
For something.
Whether it be the vampires or the Fae or anything else.
This force suppressed the Fae.
Yes, yes it did.
I'm sorry, Derek, if you wanted to say something there.
I'm not involved in this conversation.
So you just leaning back, enjoying the ride here. Yeah, you got the top down, the sun shining.
So it says that.
With the Fae gone, the vampires gone, which are presumably these very powerful extensions of humanity, what does that leave?
Leaves the tieflings. Leaves those tainted with fiendish blood. Somewhat.
Tieflings, but
Arguably
more generally
still
what?
human.
Yeah. It leaves
humanity.
It leaves humanity at large. The general pool of humanity.
Yeah.
Elves and gnomes are and Selene, for half-elves, you have Fae heritage. You are not Fae. You are not a pixie. Fae. You are not a centaur or a satyr.
Yeah.
And so you have vestiges of this ancestry, correct? Mordecai has vestiges
of fiendish ancestry.
And look at gnomes. I mean, gnomes mechanically in the PHB don't have Fae ancestry, but who are they kidding?
They are both the same.
Brace trying to dupe us here. No, she I think she embraces it. But look at the ways that humanity has changed. Dwarves and halflings and such.
Dragonborn with their draconic ancestry.
Yes,
or those that can use magic due to draconic ancestry. So,
Selene, why is it that you keep saying ancestry? Think on that. What was it that Jade was opposed to?
Well, she was opposed to the thing, like I said, things that should not be. The Fae and the vampires, they should not.
Why shouldn't they be? The line, right? Back to the timeline. List it out from start to finish, from way back to
dragons and giants.
Yep.
And I'm sure the fiends probably existed at that time too,
Okay.
somewhere off in the thing.
All right.
To the Fae and vampires,
Mm-hmm.
to humanity.
Yep.
Well, it means they are the ancestors of some of what humanity is, and they should not be for a simple fact that they have already been.
All right. So we have these points, right?
Yeah.
Now here's the thing. What is a wheel doing if we have to use the same sprocket twice? We're going around, right? Dragons, Fomorian, the giants. We end up having Fae. We have vampires. We have humanity. Something's coming next.
Next.
What?
Yeah, it's stopping and then
It's backtracking.
backwards. Yeah, it's going backwards.
Why
which
is
is
that
bad.
a problem?
Well, I mean, aside from the fact that if in a machine if
Gear
a gear
goes
spins in the
backwards, the
opposite
whole
direction,
machine stops.
stops. Yeah.
The whole machine stops if the gear
The whole
stops spinning.
machine stops. Things that should not be because they have already been and should not be again.
Their time will come, but they're trying to backtrack the gear rather than go through the cycle.
Cycle. Yeah.
We are not talking about the fate of Mesomasca. We are not talking about this plane. We are not talking about the planes. We are not talking about the gods.
We're talking
We are-
about everything. Everything. Literally the entire
The
order of the
multiverse.
cosmos. The multiverse as a whole. Yeah.
Now,
And
Jade
that,
expressed this to you. What would your immediate reaction be?
Well, I mean, if it was Selene, well, I mean, Selene kind of understood that Jade saw things in a very different way. So Selene, whilst she would take it with a grain of salt, would kind of understand that, well, maybe she sees something that we don't.
No one would
No,
believe
that's
her.
crazy talk, is what that is.
Yeah.
That is crazy talk.
No one would believe
Well, I mean,
her.
to be fair,
No
I mean,
one
to be
would
fair, out of
believe
the entire party, Selene is kind of the one who would entertain the idea of crazy talk. It's like, yes, it is.
But
yes,
you're
like,
still
yes, this
calling
is
it
But you're
crazy talk.
lawful.
You're still calling it crazy talk.
Yeah, still calling it crazy talk, but Selene would be the most likely one to entertain it as, what if it isn't? Because, I mean, that is a thing that a lawful neutral character would do, is call into question. It's like, people say that this is crazy, but is it? And there's a pun there that I know that Derek will get, that nobody else probably will, but, Because, is it? Is it really? But no, that entire thing kind of just speaks to me of, like, if the entire thing of order is this thing, Selene's first thought was like, that's crazy, but Jade is saying it, and if Jade is saying it, then given what I know about Jade, then
What do we know about Jade? That's the question.
well, we know at the very least.
That she was a mad woman.
Well, we know that yes, but the thing is, was she ever wrong in anything that she said? Because the things that she did say
That's up for
did
debate.
come to pass.
Norlai just got
So-
off in the corner like,
I mean, prophetic is one thing, but
The thing is about Jade is that Selene understood from her is like, what she speaks is crazy talk, but because some of it actually happened, Selene has this thing in her mind that Jade may have been able to see things that nobody else was able to see, and she actually did hold out that hope, because Selene actually liked Jade quite a large amount. She wasn't particularly off-put by Jade's eating of bugs or... Well, I mean, she was off-put, but she wasn't, so disturbed by the idea. Because the entire thing about magic and law and death is the propagation of ideas. It's the propagation of information, in the end. given what Selene knows about what happens to souls after they die and things like that. It's this propagation of ideas and of information, and that Selene saw what Jade was trying to do is just a way of trying to propagate the information she had in the only way that she could really figure how to. Given X factors that she, of course, doesn't know about, but she figures that, given whatever Jade's circumstances was, that was probably the only way that she knew how to propagate the information that she wanted to get across. It was the way that she wanted to make her mark, shall we say.
I ask you this now. You've had this conversation. You've done a lot of planning. You've done a lot of... I mean, you have notes everywhere. I mean, your brains are scattered. I mean, definitely, like, you're...
Celine's just filled like 5 or 6 pages in her Ouija's book with just notes on this.
We are seeing what's the right word for this? Oh, I'll use I'll invoke something from Magic the Gathering. We're seeing a conflux. We're seeing
Alara.
We're seeing a conflux of wills. And after this conversation, I think that you have an idea. A better one, anyway. I mean, I don't know if there's ever anything that's 100%. Of who is at stake, or what is at stake, or why is at stake. And you can see perhaps just how dangerous this situation is. You have a foreign empire that was the first people. I mean, right? If you think about it, they're the first humans. They existed since the dragons and the Fomorians, used them to scrub their backs and to snack on, and to do tasks. Yeah. I mean, if Siphonix is a dragon, then he may not be the only one that somehow survived or slept in some sort of a stasis or torpor. You've seen the Fomorians that were banished by the Fae. Now, you haven't found giant graveyards like you found dragon graveyards. The dragons have physical proof that they are dead.
Well, I mean, there is one. I mean, I found one bone.
Well, I mean, there are giant skeletons, yes, but I mean, you have found that there is that the giants have been removed,
like there is the dragon.
Right?
Yeah.
They weren't somehow, I guess, put into a kill box and made extinct. And so they seem to be somehow in all of this trying to push through this. In Mage it's called the Gauntlet. From whence they came, they seem to want to come back, and they're quite upset. You have the vampires and the Fae, which are extensions of original humanity, but are arguably not human. That's Mordecai. That's your whole struggle. Is you're fresh enough. You're like, I am human. I want to be. I never asked for this.
I am human.
I like that attitude. Well, tiefling, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
Half human.
And yet these seem to be full. Like, we accept that we are not. We accept we are this undead. We accept that we're this alien Fae entity that exists. You have these other patrons of a sense that also exist. All 3 of them, I guess, because there were the 2 that were fighting and must still be out there. I mean, you've only seen evidence of 2, one through Jade and one through Grimhilder von Allay.
We haven't met vampires yet. Yeah. Well,
you haven't met anyone in sort of a leadership position of vampires. That's true.
No,
but you know that they exist and they're out there. And then, of course, I mean, look, through it all, through every phase that has happened, who has been around? Who's been there?
Sure notice.
Well,
Yeah, humanity. Well, humanity, but Shonuru, Grimhilda von Alay,
Sho didn't,
and this third.
in this thought experiment, Sho didn't show up until later in the timeline.
Until later.
In that sense, and also came from everything else we're talking about is apparently homegrown, homegrown Mesotopian and broader the planet, but
Right.
this is all local. There's
Yeah.
nothing talking about. I mean, the only thing remotely close would be the gods. That even Sophonix,
yeah.
if he's a dragon, exist. But Selene, in all your religious studies, you never heard of worship of an entity like this, of what an entity like this could be contained in the description of a form, could be contained in a mere ritual book or a prayer or a spell. This is something that is beyond. This is an entity that is capable of affecting magic itself, of just denying it, of warping it, of something. And as you've noted, Selene, it wasn't just on the meteor strike. It's spread. Now the question is, do we keep the word it's spread? Or if people like Jade exist, do we add an ing to it?
Spreading. Well, it is not because Jade exists, but because people like Noralai exist. People who were born with it infused into them.
As a indirect symptom, that's true. Now, one last question I'm going to put out to all of you.
Yeah. So we can do the ritual before I have to disappear today.
Oh yeah, we have about 45 minutes left.
Yeah.
What causes someone to travel? Why would you go from one place to the next? Mordecai, why were you looking to leave Mesomasca?
Because I didn't want to stay.
You felt like, what, there's nothing and nobody for you, right?
Nothing for me here anymore.
Noralai, in your travels, I mean, you don't seem to be really. You seem affixed to your older brother, right? Why don't you just stay at home and wait for him to come to you?
Because I didn't know how long that'd take. And they didn't really say when. He didn't really say anything when he left, so, I didn't know if he was coming back. He seemed really mad at Mr. Howard, so.
And would you have been alone otherwise?
I mean, I had Mr. Howard, so. Not really, but Mr. Howard isn't Loki.
Selene,
she wanted what he could provide.
Why did you leave Why did you leave your sage studies in order to go and research and to strike out on your own?
I wanted to seek knowledge. Wanted to seek the kinds of things that I could only learn by meeting with people of my own faith.
All right. Bright, are you with us? Maybe not. I think that he had to go. He might be walking his doggos. All right. Take what we've discovered so far. There's nothing for me where I'm at. There's nobody, or I want to seek others. Someone or something that I want. I seek knowledge. If you are striking out on your own for these various reasons,
It's a change, as Derek actually just put it very succinctly. It's an expression of will to change circumstance, because that's what unites all of those concepts: is that you wish to change your circumstances, wish to change the situation you are in now to something else, and to do so is an expression of will. It is a exertion of will on the world around you to do something.
If Shonaruth is not from here, why would Shonaruth come here?
To exert will. To
change its circumstance.
To change your circumstance.
What were the circumstances? I'm not asking that as in you should know by now. Given the things that you've talked about from your own lives, is Shonaruth truly that different? Why would this entity, this thing, travel through the skies, however long, however far, exert itself in whatever ways it needed to exert itself? What would that mean from whence it came?
That there was nothing for it there.
There was nothing for it. Well, not necessarily that it was nothing, that Shonaruth felt.
That's the common theme, is there's nothing for it there. There's nothing to keep it there. So it came here.
You make it so hard not to channel Jade right now.
Or not, not necessarily there was nothing for it there, but it could be that something happened that made it want to move.
Not past tense, Selene. Not past tense.
Or something is happening.
Something will happen.
Or something will happen.
And that's something that will happen. What did we just discuss? If the gears go backwards.
Yeah, the world falls apart. So it could be that Shonaruth moves to prevent this.
Because there will be nothing left.
Exactly right. So it may not necessarily be that there is nothing for it there. It could be that something. A chain of events has happened, is happening, and will continue to happen. That causes an event that it wishes not to happen. So instead of it being nothing there, it's just something urgent bringing it forth. Something that urges it forth. Something that coaxes it out of its little out of where it is, out of where it was to where it is.
Tell you what.
Something that coaxes it from inaction to action. Something that causes it to exert its will.
Why don't we?
In this case, will cause.
Why don't we get up and take like a 5-minute break or so? If you need a little bit longer to use the restroom or get a drink, we can do so. And and then we'll come back and see where. I mean, y'all are going down the rabbit hole now, but we'll see where this goes.
Yep. I will very quickly go to the bathroom, and also Black Wolf. Do not mention that name here. We do not talk about Xehanort and his 12 other Xehanort. Thank you.
Oh, geez.
Yes,
are we getting
my name is Xehanort from another dimension, and I just happen to look exactly like your best friend Riku.
I wasn't aware we're hitting Kingdom Hearts style storytelling. I better back off because this is getting pretty bad. All right, we'll be right back. Let's get to it. So you all have you've been spending the night away, and in what is going to pull you out of this, I mean, almost conspiratorial nature. I mean, we have candles that are kind of like guttering and low. You know, we have Noralai is going to point out, like, Mordecai, you're kind of sizzling there a little bit, and you look as like a morning ray of sun has been like slowly creeping in through the window across the table, and you start kind of throwing off some sparks like a sparkler here. And there's on your door.
this early in the morning.
Yeah.
Probably Phoenix.
Is it morning?
Yeah.
I go check the door.
And
There's no way I was up that whole time.
It is someone whose name starts with an S.
But it's not Phoenix.
It is not.
Your webcam's still covered.
Oops. Boop.
Hi, darling.
Oh. Hi.
The ritual's ready, I'm guessing.
Oh no, it's just hoping to catch you all in the nude.
Good God.
No.
Alright, wake you up earlier next time then. Yes, the ritual is ready.
Okay. We'll be down promptly.
What is this supposed to do? Do you know?
It's hard to tell if a dragonborn is smiling or smirking. I mean, not exactly the proper facial muscles of a human being.
Yeah.
But she just kind of gives you a wink as she ends up turning and starts kind of with that little bit of a swagger as she starts to leave. If she had a tail, they'd be swaying with that all the motions.
Just walking away.
For what we're doing right now, I will say this is not a long rest, as you all have been intensely theory crafting.
Short rest though, so I can get my bardic inspiration back.
This has been pretty intense.
Okay.
It's alright. We can have a rest after. We can have a rest after the ritual. That's
right. Yes. So presuming that
My sorcery coin.
presuming you don't do anything to get shanked in the bar on your way downstairs, and through the front door, hopefully you'll be good.
Darling, I resemble that. Oh, sorry.
So Selter's come to get you. The ritual's ready, and she saunters down the hallway, leading you on. As I don't know, what are you? You weren't really given instructions like I need you to, make sure that you bathe in rose water that's been fermented for 3 days and wear a gold diadem on your this is just show up when I need you. Are you all taking all your stuff? Are you going full armed in armor? Are you just kind of going out in casual day wear? What is your?
I always walk around in arms and armor.
All
under my cloak, of course. But
oh, see, that's why everyone thinks
I'll
that
be
you're chunky.
I think I'll be doing the same.
Norlai?
just because.
My pets are always on hand.
What's the matter, ladies and gentlemen? No trust?
We like to be prepared for anything.
Oh, honey, life did not prepare you for me. I can guarantee you that.
Bring it with us,
Last time we weren't prepared, Jade got eaten by a flesh tree.
Exactly. So we're not going unprepared this time.
Well, that seems more like a her problem and not a your problem.
We're not going anywhere unprepared ever again.
Well, then you're going to have to end up learning to get a lot stronger because it's going to take a while before you can carry a house on your back, little man. It's so adorable.
Bright, are you bringing all your stuff?
Yes. I'm wearing all the usual amount of armor.
Gotcha. So a wonderful pink dress. Gotcha.
Yes.
All right. So you grab your things and you head out and you're walking through Green Shield. You find your way, and Mordecai, there's a couple times where you are gonna have to cross some water here, and I'm not gonna worry about that in the grand scheme of things, but it's still a thing.
If I'm taking damage, then I probably should account for that, right?
I'm not worried about it right now.
Okay.
Don't you love it when the DM says that? You make your way back to the park. You're kind of an out-of-the-way park, the one that you had the picnic in. That was just, very sunshiny and warm. And sure enough, Siphonix is there waiting for you. And he's dressed in what he's usually dressed in. He has his kind of not quite platinum blonde, but a very like light golden blonde hair, the yellow-black robes, and he looks bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and welcomes you all. And Selter, he thanks you for going and getting them while he was finishing making the circle.
Oh, well, we'll end up getting to your payment later.
Yes, I'm sure that we will. Now, well, you all certainly came prepared.
They're expecting
Can
you
you
to end
blame
up
us?
incinerating them all and what have you later on.
Oh, well,
Apparently they're still a little sore about, her name wasn't important, but
Jade.
suffice, like I said, not important. But they seem to be under the impression that you might be up to some no good. I kind of hope so.
not no good. I think this is something that.
You do realize we have reason to distrust you now.
Yes, I understand, and I believe that this is going to be a way that I can help make up for this. Well,
I cast Mage Armor.
Okay.
I cast Mage Armor because she cast Mage Armor.
Stefanix
Just to show you how much I trust you, here's some Mage Armor.
We are not taking chances again.
What I hope to do, and I will require Selter's assistance, is to aid you in what you're looking to do, because I don't want you to have a repetition of what happened in the forest, because of my own misunderstandings or mistakes, or because of something on your all's end. You were unprepared or too willful to just run in. And so, I have a way to help you unlock your potential, or rather to help you meet the potential you've already demonstrated to me that you have. Admittedly, while I had other more overt reasons to have you do the jobs that I asked. And part of that was because I needed to know that I could rely on you, that you could perform the tasks that were needed, and that you would ultimately be someone that I trust in order to help bring me up to speed on what's happening. I've been out of it for a while, and power is one thing, the ability to wield it is another, and I don't know if I've quite shaken off the sleeps from that just yet. But anyway, I'm sorry. I need you all to please come in, and if you don't trust me, I understand. Look, this is what I've done. And he waves a hand and where there was just sort of beautiful springtime grass and sort of the first early wildflowers popping up. You can see that there is a sigil that is inscribed in the ground. And as he goes over it, Bright, Selene, actually, I think bards even get this. Or, I don't know, maybe you all do. Anyway, it's a teleportation circle. As he explains it, and as one or more of you study it, and you can see that the concept is a teleportation circle, though do it? Well, Selter probably does. Do any of the rest of you speak Draconic?
I do.
Okay.
No.
I can cast comprehend languages.
This is Draconic, but this is like reading. The difference between reading original Shakespeare, like Middle English, to our modern English. So you're reading like old Draconic.
Yeah.
So you can kind of make out the words, but they're spelled a little oddly, and the pronunciation. I mean, the pronunciation, kind of as Selter was pointing out, you don't really have the mouth for it. So you kind of have to get by. But as he reveals this, the mechanics look fairly close to what you currently use. Bright, I think there's been some advancements. His design probably, he didn't have to spend like the last 15 minutes really, if he's using modern magic theory for teleportation circles. But it looks like a teleportation circle. It's written in Old Draconic, and he tells you that he wants to take you out to the ritual site. And if you want to know how he gets around, this is one way that he does.
You're still planning on paying us, right?
Yes.
I might also end up pointing out I will be receiving my standard near 15% finder's fee.
I have your payment on me, and once we get through this...
I look forward to taking it off you.
Oh, I'm not sure how to take that.
You'll learn.
So,
right.
Yeah, so this is obviously a teleportation circle. We have one like this in the wizard school, although it's not exactly the same. So where does it to go?
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be taking us south. You understand that I was at the Dragon Graveyard not that long ago. We're going to be heading back there.
And we'd be coming back. We have places to be.
Yes, this isn't a one-way circle. However, I need to perform this there.
Hey. And what is this exactly?
It is a way to allow me to help you help yourselves, to improve you, to help you become more than you are.
I've heard that before. I've heard that a couple of times, actually. One of the people that said that then proceeded to bite me. And then one of the other ones proceeded to puke a bunch of blue goo all over Selene.
Yeah.
So I'm a little nervous about being improved. I like myself the way I am.
Accepting power from another being. She has a name.
Yes, I know. I'm calling her that. Chicken Nugget, why are you nervous? You sound like the most experienced person in your entire cabaret.
Yeah, so that's not my name, and also I'm the oldest, and
Proving my point.
Her name is Bright.
I'm nervous because we've seen things like this before, and it hasn't really gone that well.
Yeah. We don't accept power from just anyone.
You're not even necessarily accepting power from me. I'm only offering an awakening inside yourself. There's no bond, there's no pact to be made. This is something
Still a little vague for my tastes.
I wish
I'd
I
feel
could
better if
explain
I
it better, but
explained more.
it's... I can't seem
Stefano.
to.
Darling, if you want, I can just end up dragging them kicking and screaming and have some fun while we're going.
No,
Absolutely
this can
not.
only work on the willing. Only the willing can receive this.
Yeah, I know, but I want to go back to some old stomping grounds. I remember my first toy there.
You can return to the Dragon Graveyard with me if they decided to decline the offer. But you're here to help me, and in return I'm here to help them, because they've been proving themselves, much like yourself, Selter, that they're competent and they're capable. And I also, in my own way, feel responsible for the loss of Jade.
Very well, then.
It might be old sentiment of mine, but it is as it needs to be. Humor this old man, says a person who looks like he might be, maybe 30. Humor this old man.
Oh, I am, darling. It's just, well, I'm looking at all them, and they look like they're scared out of their wits' end.
I don't blame them.
And
And by the way, this conversation, like, you're here, but Selter and Siphonix are definitely talking like you're not. Like, at least Siphonix isn't doing it to try and twist a dagger, but the conversation is like, well, there's the other people, and then there's us. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot you were there.
Before I get distracted, we must do this as quickly as possible, please.
What do you guys think? This is a group decision.
Well, given the fact that I've been commissioned into this little cabaret, I think that I'm paid to do so, my dear. But if I might point out something, you're already one short. You're having some difficulties getting things done at this point. I think you're needing a specialist and somebody who understands payback. So it seems that works out in your favor. But maybe we should stop and I'm going to extend an olive branch here. What exactly do you want? Come on.
How do I put it? I just need to think.
What about that one? She looks just scrumptious. The one with all the plants and things. What do you want, sweetheart?
Talk to me.
She wants to find her brother, basically.
Oh. Ain't that just adorable? Well, I might have a knack for finding people, if you think that talent might be worthwhile.
It would be useful.
Honey, I'm more than useful in one capability, I assure you. I make it a point to find people. And to look at you all, chicken nugget, outside of me not giving you nicknames, what are you looking after here? The short and silent approach. I like it, really, I do.
Now, Selter, come along. I'm trying to get them to come with us. There's going to be plenty of time for that, especially during the ritual.
Oh, most certainly. But I wanted to end up pointing out that right now, they either can go along, give a little to get a little, and they've already given plenty. You're willing to give, they don't trust it. But the question is does this work towards their understated goals or not? And they need to know how. I mean, they want to know what's in it for them. Really, they got to take all this on faith. And faith is in short supply right now. Do I understand that correct, beautiful? She gestures to Mordecai.
More or less.
So you see the conundrum, and I do understand that. So, ultimately, you're looking for what?
Who's talking? What?
She's talking to you. What are you looking for, specifically?
That's a loaded question.
Oh, I know. I specialize in those. Doesn't change the fact that you have an answer, and you're dodging the question, which I appreciate, but we need to move this along.
Well, what I want in the immediate is to make sure that everyone here stays in one piece.
Now, there is an admirable goal.
I can tell you that with Selter's help, as I perform this, you will stay in one piece. And I sincerely hope that the results of what we're about to do, should you be willing to accept it, are going to help you reach these goals. Whether or not you agree with Selter or her approach, she's done a great service for all of you, because we are going to need to know just what you seek, who you are, in order for this enhancement to come to fruition. You're going to have to look deep inside yourself, and you're going to have to provide what and who and why. The questions we all ask ourselves, even me. This isn't just some mage armor ritual that is going to sparkle across you and provide a small benefit. This is going to be a meaningful growth within you, caused by yourself, and aided along by my unique spell. And a spell that hasn't been cast, as far as I know, for a very long time in these lands. And interestingly enough,
I'll go first.
Yeah, he's kind of looking up, and interestingly, one that was common enough. It was never even questioned, and well, no sense living in the past. We're in the present. It's not a question of first. It's a question of who's stepping in with me. This is going to happen, and everyone who's in the circle is going to go. If we blow up, myself and Selter are going to be included. I can tell you that I prefer living, and I do believe Selter does as well.
You know me so well, dear.
Yes, well. He kind of gives a nervous laughter. I invite you in.
Mordecai looks to the others. What do you think?
We have nothing to lose no longer.
I disagree. We have a lot to lose.
No.
We could potentially lose anything and or everything.
Yes, but what would we lose that if by not doing this and still being in the dark, we wouldn't lose anyway? Remember what we talked about. If this happens, there is nothing left.
Yeah. Guess I'm just quite suspicious of mysterious, undefined powers that will change us in mysterious, undefined ways.
Yeah.
That's a lot to take on faith.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, my dear, you are going to lose something. The first thing I would suggest that you lose is your inhibition and get in the circle.
It's like, I suppose that's just me, but I've lived my entire life on faith. So...
Extend a portion of it to me then, Selene.
And Selene is going to step into the circle.
And Siphonix is just, his golden eyes look at you, not pleadingly, but with a sense of relief and thanks that you step forward as he extends his hand. He doesn't have to help you up and in, but just inviting. And these eyes, they fall over the rest of you.
I look to Norlai.
This may help you find your brother, Norlai.
I'm okay with whatever you decide, Mordecai.
Well, if you want some help with that fact, somebody who can actually do the job, well, I'm going to the wonderful bit of ancestry. So if you could end up joining and potentially end up having a chance to do so, well then, have at it and step right on in. I assure you the water's warm and I don't bite much.
It's been enough biting of us, thanks.
Oh, you
Mordecai,
develop a taste for
Norlai?
it.
I don't want to make the decision for you.
You can hold hands if you wish.
Right.
I'm not sold. I think I'm gonna stay behind. I'll wait for you when you come back.
Are you sure?
I think I'm sure. I was hoping we might get a cure for the vampirism, or at least for the latent vampirism, but it doesn't seem like it's going to do that. And the other stuff that I came to Mesomasca for, it's changed too, and there's just too many things happening in too short of a period of time. And this is just one more thing, and every time we do something that we don't know what it's going to do, it always turns out bad. And I don't think I want to do this. So I appreciate the offer, and if this is part of our payment, then I'm willing to forego it. But thank you very much, Sophonix. I appreciate... I don't know if I appreciate it or not, actually. But assuming that your heart's in the right place, I appreciate that, at least.
You are fraught with indecision, my dear bride.
Oh, it's not really indecision, it's decision.
You're speaking so directly now. I cannot force you. This has to be taken willingly. And there's nothing that I can do that can compel you. This has to be done for yourself. Selene is willing. Mordecai, Norlai.
We'll be back, I guess.
Very well. You two step into the circle. Is that a yes, Norlai?
I might stay with Bright.
Alright. Norlai steps back out, leaving Selene and Mordecai.
Sure.
Okay, good luck. I'll wait for you when you come back. I hope you come back. Let me know how it went.
Stay safe.
Fingers crossed.
Very well. He begins the incantation to open up the magics to have them flow and to locate this sister circle elsewhere. And the spell is being cast. Mordecai or Selene, are either of you stepping out?
Nope.
Okay.
I step out for a second and I kiss Bright.
Oh.
Beep.
Whoa!
Beep. Okay. Yeah. Okay, this day's just getting weirder.
As soon as Mordecai steps back in, I told you the thing you lose would be your innovation.
What did you say?
I told you the first thing you'd lose would be your inhibition.
Two of those aren't here.
That is correct. I'll have to modify this.
Right.
Yeah, that's a thing.
That's the thing that happened, yes.
You appear a short ways away from the circle of stones. and you make your way over. Selene, you've been to the Dragon Graveyard before, and it is
I've been there many a time.
It
many.
It is hauntingly beautiful. There's no real development to speak of. It's as it was, perhaps even the day that the dragons themselves died. I mean, none of them were necessarily even buried, or at least not specifically. I mean, maybe by time or dust or dirt and like plant growth. And you walk a ways with Sophonix to this ritual circle. And he tells the two of you here, I appreciate you believing in me, and I hope that you'll be rewarded for that belief. I can't tell you how this is going to end up because it's really going to be up to you. I can only help you take the steps that are needed to realize your potential. Now, in order to do this, we have to be honest with each other. This is going to be the bearing of oneself. This is going to be an examination of who you are and what you are. And this is going to be asking yourself very difficult and perhaps simple at the same time questions. I would ask here that you present yourself as you were brought into this world.
I love this part.
There's going to be nothing that is going to stop the process from weaving itself through you, from examining every bit of you, from having you ask these questions, and to feel yourself bared to the cosmos itself, and seeking something, seeking greatness, seeking improvement, seeking strength or knowledge, perhaps even seeking that you were not necessarily as you currently are. Will this cure your vampirism? I can't tell you that, Mordecai. This spell was made before vampirism was. It perhaps might have that ability, but I cannot guarantee it. And as a show of good faith, and Selter, if you're already starting to change out of things to, hop up on the rock, that's fine.
Oh yeah, she has an inkling on what's going on, and she is not shy in the slightest.
This isn't meant to dissolve people, right?
No, honey, that's what I'm here for.
You will not be dissolved. You will be taking yourself apart and putting yourself back together. It is completely under your control and by your own will. There's nothing that I can do here that will force you. I can only provide the opportunity. Now, I see that Selter's had quite the head start on me, but I feel that I must be honest with you as well.
Get an eyeful, ladies and gentlemen. You're about to view perfection. Well, as close as I am, anyway.
And he begins glowing, and it's almost like a second sunrise is occurring. His hair, it's as his picture, right? His hair starts billowing. His golden eyes are just that. And they fall upon you and just cover you in this warm, wonderful golden glow. And there's a flash, you look away, and Selene and Mordecai. You are standing before a gold dragon in the circle of stones.
Holy shit balls. I did not expect that to be real.
If you do not doubt this is my true shape, you may use whatever magics you may have to examine me. If you wish to touch my scales, to feel the points of my horns, you may. This cannot work unless I am honest with you, and you are honest with yourselves.
For the sake of maintaining a PG-13 rating, let's just say Seltzer is quick to indulge in that offer.
Mordecai is totally okay with just seeing what's there and going off of that. He trusts his own eyes.
A living, breathing dragon. In this, of all places at that, is there.
Definitely awestruck.
You hear the rumble of the breathing. He blinks like a creature should to keep his eyes moist. His tail flicks, Mordecai, in almost a way that, you're used to reading that body language. It seems very natural. It doesn't seem like it's an artificial illusion or anything. His claws look fierce and sharp, very deadly. He can cling to the rocks, probably even crush them if he wishes. But he sits on one and asks if you're done, then we can proceed.
Just a moment longer.
I'm
Just
sorry,
a moment
Selter.
longer.
I need you at the other end of the circle. I need the
But
blood
that's
that
so far
runs in your
away.
veins. Take pride in knowing that your heritage is allowing you to participate in this.
Oh, you're such a killjoy, Seltzer. She saunters to the other side and places herself upon the rock, bared as she is. She ends up maintaining fairly relaxed, though her eyes obviously go to the large golden figure. With in anime terms, she would be drooling at this point.
All right. And so what we'll do, as we're about out of time, I know you got to get going here, Lethality, for the Gathering of Nerds. He begins chanting, and lines start forming between him and you and Selter and the rocks and each other in complex myriad forms as he is invoking what he's calling the sacred geometry. And as this happens in your natural forms, as you were brought into this world, there's light and there's dark that seemingly exist at the same time. You can see, but there's nothing to see. So it's not black, it's empty, but it's still full because you can feel each other's presence. You're here, you're there, and you're not. You are nowhere. You are now here. Everything fades to black. The sacred geometry begins to take shape as there's a circle around you. Lights and colors dance. And you feel yourself slipping into another state. And what we'll do here is we'll pick up next week with you all inside the ritual and asking and answering the questions that need asked and answered in order to fulfill this ability to maximize your potential and become something that you want to be and maybe even already have been. And there we go.
Ah, damn.